Hey guys, it is Kayla Waller with Waller Adventures, and today we are in Winter Park, Florida. So stick around, check it out. Alright, so Winter Park, Florida is kind of like on the edge of Orlando. If you're in Orlando, it's about like a 15 minute drive. But we are actually going to do the Venice of America. It is a boat tour here on the lake. It is really cool. Alright, so here's a sign for it. Venice of America is a 12-mile, 1-hour tour through lakes and canals. See, like Rollins College and gardens and things like that. So can't wait. So it opens at 10 a.m. until I think the last boat leaves at 4. And they do every hour. So we have a 12 o'clock ride. And it was like $20 for me to do this. We'll see if it's worth the $20. But I hope it should be, from all the pictures I've seen online. It also says they do private charters anytime and any occasion. So that's really cool. They also do canoe and rowboat rentals from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., which is really cool. So if you look down there, right where that lady is walking, it says Scenic Boat Tours right down there. All right, they do have bathrooms here if you need to use the bathroom before you go on a boat. Walk down the windy path right here. And right here, here's the boats.
You can ask me there, but I would, if you have to.
Yeah, I see something like, could be a dolphin, I don't know, far away. Yeah. Just trying to figure out
You
where it
would go
was.
regular? If you have to, yeah, you're not gonna keep it in the watch for you.
Front row.
You know, every morning we're gonna hear that, like, that's why he's like. It's like, I'm old today.
Well, hello everybody, hello. So is this a pretty day or what? Pretty hot, I'd say.
Nice breeze on the boat.
Yeah, we're gonna have some breeze. Almost makes me think we must be in Florida or something. You know? So just a little bit of safety instruction. We do ask that you stay seated during the trip. Does that make sense? Keep your hands inside the boat, life jackets under the seats. And guess what? We have a sign in the front of the boat that has no words on it. But what that sign says, that we do appreciate it if you're not talking when I'm talking. Because if I'm talking and you're talking at the same time, that's no bueno, okay? And my friends with the hats on, you better watch your hats. The wind could take them sailing right off your head. My name is Wendell, delighted to show you the nice little town of Winter Park from the lake. 30,000 people call it home. Famous for its chain of lakes, 6 lakes all connected by canals. This is Lake Osceola, named after the famous Seminole Indian leader, Osceola. Had his camp over on the edge of the lake back in the day. Besides everything else, Winter Park has 4 great museums. That's the Pulaski Museum over there. Pulaski was a famous sculptor from the Czech Republic. What I'm trying to say is that is one pretty sculpture garden. Unfortunately, it is closed on Mondays. But see that house right there? That house is now part of the Pulaski Museum, and that is one weird house. Weird, you say? Yes, weird. because that house used to be on the other side of the lake. But they cut it in half, put it on some barges, and floated it across the lake. Can you imagine that house floating across the lake? I think that's the reason we like to call it a double-wide mobile home. And they're now using it for special events like weddings and so forth. So, 6 lakes all connected by canals. The canal in front of us is the Fern Canal, and the Fern Canal has a low bridge. If I should say quack, quack, what are you going to do?
Doug.
Whoa, somebody had a cup of coffee early this morning. And I hope it wasn't Irish coffee, if you know what I mean. So, isn't it pretty coming into the canal? Now, the lakes are all natural lakes. Freshwater lakes are shallow lakes less than 20 feet deep. The canals, on the other hand, were dug by lumberjacks back in the 1870s so they could float the logs to the sawmill. Sort of makes sense back in the logging days. And trust me, they didn't spend a lot of time digging these canals. They're less than 5 feet deep. And speaking of logging, look why I'm pointing to the left. Look at the top of the pine tree. Look at the top of it. It's about 100-year-old pine tree. What they used to cut down back in the day. It's a southern longleaf yellow pine. Now, why were they cutting down pine trees back in the day, 1870s? Well, they were building the brand new town of Winter Park, and they needed all the lumber they could get. So, you see where we are, you know what I'm going to say, right? Quack, quack, duck, duck. How low can you go? At least you can see why we don't have a canopy on the boat, right? At least not anymore. For some strange reason, everybody on my boat ride always wants to see an alligator. Well, I'm pointing at a gator right there, and he's all by himself, and he's lonely. Would you please wave at our little lonely gator? No. And he's lonely because Mr. Froggy won't talk to him. Could it be that Mr. Froggy has already croaked? So this is Lake Virginia, named after the state of Virginia, second largest lake in the chain. And Lake Virginia happens to be the home of Rollins College over there. We'll go by that in just a bit. First of all, I got to find out from you folks, what do you think swims in these lakes? What swims here? Now this is easy. What swims here?
Fish.
Fish, largemouth bass. We have fishing tournaments on the lake. Got a few gators, a lot of turtles, and we have an animal that has 4 legs and a tail that swims in the lake, and you ought to know what it is. An otter, you ought to know it's an otter. Did you notice I was trying to help you? Did you notice that? Yeah. River otters, you ought to know. Yeah, they're building more dorms for the students. Now, wouldn't you think that the people living in those fancy houses over there, wouldn't you think that they'd be enjoying a little peace and quiet? Wouldn't you think so? But all they got going for them over there is a bunch of screeching. Does anybody have an idea why? Has to do with the symbol of Winter Park, which is peacocks. Winter Park is a city of peacocks. And have you ever heard a peacock before? Sounds like somebody stepping on the tail of a cat, and you know what that sounds like. So is it safe for me to say that we've been passing some sort of nice houses along the edge of the lake? Can I safely say that? You know, sort of starter homes, you know. So here's the deal. There's actually another lake on the other side of those houses. So how would you like to live there and see the sun come up over that lake in the morning and then set over this lake in the evening? I mean, how cool is that?
That'd be cool.
Now, look ahead. Do you see the whole row of buoys all the way to shore? Do you see them? Can you see them? That's a ski course for the college. The ski boat goes right down through the middle of the buoys. The skier behind goes in and out, in and out. It's a slalom course.
Wow. Didn't know Rollins had a ski course. Pretty cool. There's the college.
Well, this is Rollins College in front of us. Florida's first private college, established back in 1885, established by a church. It's a lovely 70-acre campus, sort of built in a Mediterranean style. Did you hear me use the word lovely?
Yep.
This college, this campus a few years ago was voted the #1 prettiest college campus in all of America by the Princeton Review. Not too shabby. So when they started the college, they passed a hat, and a local businessman dropped in a check for $50,000. Now remember, 1885 would have been about the equivalent of $1 million today. So they asked him what his name was. He said Rollins. They said, well, you just bought yourself a college. And Mr. Rollins in 1885 had no clue that the college that would bear his name today would be offering 33 majors and would have received more Fulbright scholarships than just about any other college. And oh, by the way, those happen to be dorms for the students right there. Just look at the view that the students have
That's
from their
pretty
dorm
neat.
windows. So what do you think? You think the students will actually get any studying done with a view like that available to them? The rumor has it that there's never been a Rollins student graduate early.
Ah.
You see why? Nobody wants to leave.
Nope.
Listen, man, he can just
But
make
say
those
Rollins
right
on the
there.
side of them.
Most common duck in the lake.
That's pretty neat.
The trees right there are easy enough to see, but the big building behind those trees not so easy. That's Rollins College Museum of Fine Art, ranked one of the top art museums of any college campus in America. And guess what? This year it is free, free as in you can't beat free, and open to the public. Unfortunately, all the museums in Winter Park are closed on Mondays. They're open on Sundays, closed on Mondays. But we're open. We're the best thing in town. Of course, on Mondays, we're the only thing in town.
They came in on a Tuesday.
The little beach over there is a public beach. It's where the children of Winter Park used to learn to swim. for years in spite of the alligators. Actually, I think all the gators ever did to the kids back then would just make the kids swim faster. What do you think? Yeah, much faster. That's called motivation. It's also the site of the original sawmill that the lumberjacks floated their logs to way back in the 1870s. Now, this is a public lake. That's a public boat ramp. You can launch your boat and enjoy the lake. It's called Dinky Dock. Right next to Dinky Dock, the big building that looks like a condo. Well, it used to be. Now it's another dorm for the college. And the nice house right next to it, the one behind the trees. Do you see it over there? That's where the president of the college now lives. Pretty fancy place, I'd say. It's a small college, less than 3,000 students on campus. So, does anybody want to venture a guess what room, board, tuition might be a year? Round figures, give or take, more or less. What do you think? Round figures. 80, you nailed it. 80 it is.
Wow.
And about 90% of the students get some sort of scholarship help. And guess what I just found out? Last year, students came from over 75 different countries around the world to this little college.
Wow.
So obviously it has a very diverse student body. Okay, are you ready for a brain teaser of a question? Are you ready? Are you ready? I'm pointing at that brown boathouse over there. It has a boat in it. You can't really see it. But that boat has a very unusual power plant that propels it through the water, and I want you to guess what it is. But wait, I've got to give you a hint. Have you heard of the Tesla car? What's inside the Tesla car that gives it power? Battery. So if you ever see them rowing, you know what happened. The battery died. Got to plug the battery in. To the left, all those buildings are condos. To the right, do you see where I'm pointing at the plants on the bank? That's Egyptian papayas. That's where we get our English word paper from. And please don't ask me how they beat that into paper. And look at the gray stuff hanging down from the trees. What is it? What do you call it?
Spanish moss.
Spanish moss. I'm proud of you. But if you were living in Australia, you'd be calling that gray stuff Grandpa's beard. Okay, everybody saw Mr. Gator when you came in, right? Did you look at him? Did you look in his mouth? What did you see in his mouth? Did you see the little tube where he squirts? What does a gator squirt? Ah! Gatorade. It only gets worse. Okay, you see where we are. What do we say? What do we say?
Quack, quack.
What do we do?
Oop.
You guys are good. Okay, folks, can you please describe to me what you see right there? What is that? What do you call it? Okay, we're gonna call it small bamboo. Small bamboo. So what do you see there? Boy, can't pull anything over on you all. And here I thought I'd be able to bamboozle you. I think I just did. Consider yourselves bamboozled. Isn't that a funny word? But I did warn you it'd get worse. So. Here we are back in Lake Osceola again. So I have a little story to tell you. Do you all like the his and her boathouse over there? Do you like that? It's one of the first houses built on the lake back in 1889. It's the Brewer estate. Mr. and Mrs. Brewer lived up in Cortland, New York. And he had a carriage business back then. You know, he built carriages for horses. And he would come down here to buy his lumber for his carriages. Fell in love with this lake, wanted to bring his wife down, spend the winter, why not? One major problem. She did not want to leave the very fancy house he built for her up there. So, like any good husband, let me show you what he did. He built an identical house for her down here. Identical. What a house. What a husband. Now, ladies, I think he was trying to make his wife happy. What do you think? And I've heard that a happy wife is a happy life. But I've also heard that's an old wise fable, so I don't know what to believe. Well, do we have any bird lovers on the boat? You see the bird houses over there? They're purple martins. Purple martins are part of the swallow family. And they're great birds to have around because they love flying insects. They eat a ton of mosquitoes. And they come back to the same nest every year. And they spend part of the year up here and part of the year way far south. In a very big country, starting with a B, such as Brazil, which to me is rather a long commute for such a little bird. Can you believe it? Every year, back and forth, back and forth. Mr. and Mrs. Rich built this house back in the 1950s. It was designed by Winter Park's most famous architect, James Gamble Rogers. It's called the Bermuda Colonial style. And look at the chimneys. See how they're different? Those are called fishtail chimneys. And he designed it so that every single room in the house had a good view of the lake. And what else did they do? Well, they bought in their own little private beach. They bought that sand all the way over from Daytona Beach. Well, let's talk about gators. Little cove over there is affectionately called Alligator Cove. I wonder why. A few years ago, there were so many gators over there, they were bothering the neighbors up on the yards, making a nuisance of themselves. So they called in Florida Fish and Game, and they counted over 125 gators in there.
Wow.
They trapped over 100 of them, sent them up to Lake Jessup. So most of the gators are gone, but the name remains Alligator Cove. Now, Lake Jessup is only about a half hour north of here by car. It's part of the St. Johns River. And supposedly there's more gators in Lake Jessup than just about any other lake in the world. And guess what? I've gone kayaking on Lake Jessup and lived to tell about it. You want to know how I survived? Yeah, I went kayaking on a Monday, and they were all shut down on a Monday, yeah. Actually, in the daytime, there weren't that many gators on the surface of the water. But I've been on Lake Jessup at nighttime in a pontoon boat with a flashlight, and all I saw was a sea of red eyes. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Look at that house. It's got an elephant in the yard.
Okay, do you all see the big house in front of us? What else do you see? An elephant, a big elephant. You see the elephant. Everybody sees the elephant. But why? Well, big house always needs a big elephant in the back. And I've got something else astounding to show you about that backyard. But I got to get in position first. I got to get where you can see it. Keep your eyeballs peeled. You're going to see something astounding. What do you see? Do you see it? Do you see the spigot?
Yeah. Spigot, yeah.
Can you believe it?
Wow.
So obviously that's for the elephant, right? So in the summertime when it gets hot, he can just wander over there and stand under the spigot. So this is the Venetian Canal in front of us, and the Venetian Canal is the longest canal. And it's a crooked canal. So we've given it the nickname the Zigzag Canal. So don't be surprised if we happen to rub up against the side of the canal on occasion. And that's a great white egret there, looking for his next meal. And in case you were wondering, this is a two-way canal, which of course means that we have no clue what's around the next bend coming straight at us. Which sort of sounds like life in general, doesn't it? And you notice the low bridge in front of us, you do know what to do, right?
Flowers. There's a bear.
Well, good. Nobody said ouch. At least not yet. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of talking in the canal just because it's so pretty. I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy it. And if you can relax enough, your blood pressure might even drop a notch or two.
Boathouse. Wow. No little boathouse. It's pretty neat.
So was that a pretty canal or what? Pretty crooked, I'd say. And this is Lake Maitland in front of us, the largest lake in this chain of 6 lakes. In the city of Maitland, right across the lake in front of us. And we have a cypress tree at the end of the canal. And look at the funny things growing around the cypress tree. That's part of the cypress tree root structure. They're called cypress knees. Not really an area you'd want to run through barefoot now, is it? They don't grow in the trees, they're just part of the root system. And look at the cypress trees in front of us in the lake. Those cypress knees enable the cypress tree to grow in the water like that.
Wow.
Over here we have a nice little city park full of azaleas, so we call it the Azalea Park. Has a nice little monument thing with the columns. Anybody have an idea what that's used for today besides taking pictures? Weddings, absolutely. Backdrop for weddings. I was wondering what happened to the romance on the boat, you know? So, I was working on the boat on the 10th of October, 2010, and there were like 10,000 people getting married here that day. Why?
Wow.
That's it. 10, 10, 10. And what time did they get married?
10-10.
No, you can do better than that. 10, 10, of course. Wow, you guys are good. Took you a little bit, but you got there. Fact is, you know what? You ranked 10 stars in my book.
Look at the houses. Wow.
Okay, you see where I'm pointing, the red roofs and the chimneys above the trees? That's obviously a big building. Turns out that that's the famous old Hotel Alabama, built back in 1922. It's now been converted into luxury condos. But it's famous because some very famous authors stayed there when they were lecturing at Rollins College. For example, Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind. Proud of you folks. 4-hour movie. Now obviously all these houses are lovely. But to me, the house in front of us looks like what I think an Italian villa should look like. And I just love that little guest apartment over the boathouse. Fact is, I'm trying to figure out how to finagle an invite to go spend the night there, you know what I'm saying? But isn't that a lovely house? And just look at the landscaping, the gardens. I mean, I want you to really look at the landscaping. Because I'm sure you're all going to go home and try to duplicate that in your own backyards. Right on. If I should ask you, what do you think the houses on all these lakes cost? I'm sure you're going to say a lot. And guess what? I agree with you. Because to me, 4 million and up, mostly up, yeah, that's a lot of money. However, in the canal, it's only $1 to $2 million. So obviously, that's where the poor people live. So the houses are lived in year-round by doctors and lawyers, professional people. A lot of business owners live here, but nobody very famous lives on these lakes anymore. But somebody famous used to live in that house right there, and his name was Tom Hanks. Does that ring a bell? He was directing a film on space exploration called From Earth to the Moon. It was an HBO miniseries. And he lived in a house while he directed the series. That was back in 1998. The little bridge goes into a man-made island. They made it in the shape of the Isle of Sicily, so that's what they call it. It's 11 acres, 11 magnificent homes. And I've got some very bad news for you. I don't own any of those houses. Yeah, bad news. Bad news for all of us. Because if I owned it, we'd be stopping. There'd be drinks, hors d'oeuvres for everybody. I'm saying we all missed out, yeah. So do you see the Christmas ornaments hanging on the tree? Do you see them? That's our version of an ugly Charlie Brown Christmas tree. And what do you see at the top of the ugly Christmas tree? That's an osprey. He's sitting in an osprey nest. Ospreys look like eagles, only they're smaller. They're part of the hawk family. And without fail, every single year that osprey nest has produced 1 or 2 little baby osprey chicks. But I've got a story to tell you that involves doom and gloom in paradise. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the last hurricane of last year was Hurricane Milton, and it did a bullseye on that osprey nest and blew it all to smithereens. And I've been waiting for months wondering, would the osprey return? Would they return and rebuild their nest? Well, guess what happened just a month and a half ago? They came back, look what they've done. I am one happy camper. Well, there's 3 big houses in front of us, but I want you to look at the big house in the middle, the big house behind the trees, because that house was built specifically for somebody who was almost 7 feet tall. I wonder what he did for a living. Hey, Horace Grant played for the Orlando Magic, Horace Grant. And when he was traded to the LA Lakers, guess what the new owners of the house had to do? They had to go in and lower all in the kitchen. What did they lower?
Countertops.
Countertops is the magic word. Did you hear me use the word magic? Are you tracking with me, connecting the dots? Yeah. Orlando Magic, Now, a lot of people ask me, do these lakes ever flood with all the pretty homes right on the edge of the lake? But no, there's a dam, so it keeps the height of the water regulated even in hurricanes. However, 24 years ago, there was such a drought that the water dropped so low that you could actually walk through these canals on dry ground. So the city of Winter Park took advantage of that and redid all the sides of the canals at that time. But you did notice, didn't you, that they didn't bother to straighten the canal out. It's still as crooked as ever. And the big building in front of us is Rollins College Boathouse. It's where they keep their rowing shells for their rowing crews. And you talk about exciting. To see them out here on the lake racing other colleges, that is exciting. And they use Lake Maitland instead of Lake Virginia where the college is located because Lake Maitland is big enough to have a regulation 2-kilometer course laid out on it. Fun and games. Okay, you see where we are. Don't want to hear anybody saying ouch. And you see the trees in front of us. Where there's a little black bear cub climbing the tree. Do you see him? Can you see him? And what's the flowers right around them? Pretty white orchids. Check out these other trees. They also have orchids on them. Here you see the banana plants hanging over the canal in front of us to the left. Can you see them? 8 years ago, there was a big bunch of bananas hanging right there. But Hurricane Irma was hungry and she ate them all.
Oh no.
She found them very appealing. Yeah, I just had to slip that in. So here we are back in Lake Osceola again. Now, Winter Park was established back in 1882 as a winter resort for rich folks up in Boston and New England, hence the name Winter Park. In other words, this is where they came to have their winter homes. And they chose this area because it wasn't so marshy, so there weren't that many mosquitoes. Bottom line, by the mid-1950s, there were more millionaires per capita living in here in Winter Park than just about any place else in the United States. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that whatever you're looking at here is old money, a lot of old money. And I'm guessing you all remember the old expression, "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood." You remember that? That man's name was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And Mr. Rogers lived there in that red brick house when he was a student at Rollins College, class of 1951. He was a music major, had a baby grand piano, would not fit in the dorm room, so his parents got him that house to hold his baby grand. Not too shabby having rich parents, is it?
Well, they're doing construction on that one.
I'm pointing at that large Mediterranean-style house there in the corner of the lake. That used to be the largest house in Winter Park, 28,000 square feet. And that house only had 2 people living in it for years. So here's my question to each one of you. How often do you think those 2 people actually saw each other inside that house? Now, you know I'm not a marriage counselor, okay? But if I were giving advice, I'd say if you're going to marry a grouch, you know, somebody that's grumpy all the time, then you need to buy a big house like that and you won't see each other for a month at a time. But if you marry somebody nice, well, you can buy a smaller house and live together just fine. And I'm guessing you all live in smaller houses, right? Yeah, I'm guessing so. I'm pointing at that large white cross right there, which belongs to the Methodist Church, which is right across the street. And that's where they've held their Easter sunrise services every year. Every year for almost 100 years right there. And of course, Easter was just a few weeks ago. What a lovely location with the sun coming up over the lake early in the morning. Well, folks, we are headed to a very, very, very famous and historic spot. It's the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour Dock. We started way back in 1938. We've been going ever since, which makes us the longest continuously running tourist attraction in all of Florida. And no, I am not one of the original boat captains, thank you. Well, I've sure enjoyed having you all out on a boat trip today. You were a fun group. Thanks for coming. Come back and see us again sometime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, guys.
Thank you, thank you.
How do you do it?
He's real funny.
Oh, right, guys, that was an awesome boat tour. If you're ever in Orlando, you can come and do this boat tour. It was really cool. Wendell did a really good job. He was really awesome. But yeah, so Winter Park is only like 15-20 minutes from Orlando. So if you don't want to do the theme parks, or you have a down day and you want to come enjoy a great day on the lake, this is a spot. Highly, highly, highly recommended. 1000%. So thanks for joining us on the world famous Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you are, we greatly appreciate it. If you're not, hit that subscribe button. It will help our channel grow. We're also on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And below this video, you can see some of our Wild Adventures merch. And in the description below, there's a link to the merch shop itself, so you can check out like our CGI merch. We have some fishing shirts as well. We have some like dog bandanas and things like that. We have a whole different bunch of like mugs, coffee mugs, thermoses. We have this thermos. It says Wild Adventures on it as well. I'll also put a link to their website, so you can check out what's going on, like times, if anything like that. And so you can come do your own tour here at the well, it says Venice America on the sign, but it is the Winter Park Scenic Boat Tour. Also, if you go to Facebook, you can send us a message and you can get your very own Wild Adventures koozie or holographic sticker, like that one. So thanks for watching. See you soon. Hey guys, it's me again. If you want to subscribe to your channel, click over here. If you want to check out some more videos, click down there. If you want to check out our cool merch shop, go to the description below and click the link. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.